To be fair, with Kate, I see her loss of vision in one eye being more representative of her personal sacrifice for the greater good of the people rather than a punishment. It's indicative of her character arc and is seen as a positive. I do agree with you about Caitlyn's eye injury and subsequent loss of vision being part of her character arc, representing the personal sacrifice and growth instead of punishment for her transgressions against the Undercity. I even agree that it would be a good way to represent growth, however, I do have a few points. Number one, I brought up Caitlyn mainly to highlight the differences in how each characters are portrayed. Caitlyn gets a redemption arc, Silco doesn't. Caitlyn's eye is covered with an eye patch, healing in the weeks after her injury. Silco's injury does not. In the other timeline, the one in which he maintains his relationship with Vander and stays good, his eye is shown to be significantly healed compared to his counterpart. The reason their similar disability is treated differently is because of what it's supposed to represent. Caitlyn's redemption, Silco's spiral, which leads me to point two, their disablement. Silco specifically almost serves as a stand-in for character development. We aren't shown what outside of Vander's attack changes him into the person he is today, what might have caused him to be capable of killing man, woman, and child alike with seemingly no regret. That is left almost entirely up to the viewer's interpretation of the character, which is where character design comes pretty heavily into play. You see a man who's tall and thin, with the damaged black eye, thin hooked nose, and crooked teeth. What did I just describe? Exactly, a textbook villain. Caitlyn's injury serves a similar purpose. You see a woman in an enforcer's uniform with an eye patch, you assume she's noble, made sacrifices. Again, this isn't necessarily a bad form of character design or storytelling, and I definitely think they did a better job at showing Caitlyn's redeeming herself than they did at showing Silco being corrupted. My problem is the harm that these tropes cause real-life disabled people. Invoking the villain with a facial scar trope might be fine to cover up some lazy writing, but it does nothing to protect real people with facial differences who are already stereotyped as dangerous. Number 3. Intention versus impact. I have seen many people using the rhetoric that Caitlyn somehow paid for her transgressions against the Undercity by losing an eye, that characters like Silco or Sallow deserved what happened to them because they are evil. Whether the writers intended it or not, that is how a lot of people in the fandom interpret it. I'm sure the Arcane writers didn't mean to, however, Silco does happen to fall into a lot of harmful ableist stereotypes. I'm not saying that they were malicious in their intent, but we live in a world that is deeply ableist. It would make sense that ableism informs common tropes in our media, and while again, I think they did a significantly better job with Caitlyn than Silco, they still fall into moralizing severity of disability. Personally, if I were the writer, which I am not, I would have had Caitlyn hang up her badge at the end. It would be a tangible action showing her development, not just something that happened to her. This way, her losing an eye could both represent her identity changing positively and her sacrifice, both of her physicality and her position of privilege over those of the Undercity as an enforcer.